Okay, so now I've mentioned about this before. Whenever you want to create new Flutter project, there are two methods of new project creation. One is through the view command palette, and the other one is through the command terminal, which is more prefer to when creating new project. You can use the command palette through the view menu and select the new Flutter project. And then the other method is by using the command terminal, which is allow you to create what we call as a custom package name. So whenever you create custom package name means that you wanted to publish, it is easier for you later on to publish your application because your package name already pre-configured properly. Whenever you use the command palette to create new project, you will be given with com.example, which is the default comes, and if you want later on to publish your application, you need to change your package name to a much proper package name. And in this case, for example, com.selambaja.com the name of the application, or you can use com.um or com. whatever the names of the organizational through the use of command prompt instruction down here. So the command prompt instructions should be very easy, but all you have to do is just, you need to be very familiar with a command prompt and then enter that directory where you want to create your project. So like, for example, Flutter create, this org means that the organization of the name of the organization. Okay, so when you work later on, that depend on your organization package naming convention that they're using for their company. So here, if in UM, you can just use com.uum, com. if you want to use for the class name, STIW2044, okay, small letter. And then the name of your application. And then that basically will automatically create a new default project for your Flutter application. All right, so once you created your applications, once you have your application ready, automatically you'll be given with this, okay? So you're given with what we call as a list or directory of project files, okay? So you have your project files here, and then your default code should be under lib folder. Okay, so under lib folder, you have the file called main.dot. So that main.dot is your entry point to your application. Okay, the dot file that basically contain the dot programming language. As I mentioned before, Flutter is not a programming language. Flutter is a UI framework, user interface framework, which contain all the library, compiler, application that basically help you to build application. The programming language so far, the only programming language used by Flutter is DART, programming. So the default code basically allow you to get this, okay, to get or given you with the entry point to your application and allow you to run this application. And the application you can choose either to run on your AVD, Android virtual device, which is I'm not recommending if you are running on a lower performance machine. If you are running on a good machine with like a gaming laptop, a gaming PC, or even on a MacBook M1 or the latest version M2, so with like 16 gig of RAM, then I can recommend you to run on AVD, because AVD they require a lot of resources. But for Mac, for Apple devices, you can run or you can compile your application to the iOS simulator, which is a much lighter in terms of the requirement, okay, compared to AVD. iOS simulator, okay, they call it simulator, not an emulator. So that should get you or allow you to run your AVD, but you require to install Xcode. Okay, you need Xcode to be able to run iOS simulator. Okay, so those are the things. So let me try to create new, let's say, Flutter project. This one, if you want to disable, because we know that Flutter allow you to create multiple or able to compile to multi-platform, which is, I can say, a true cross-platform environment or SDK. But if you have no intention to develop for Windows, for web, for even if you just want to develop for Android or iOS only, so you can configure your Flutter so that whenever you create later on new project, you won't be given the residual file, okay, the residual file for the platform that you are not interested to develop. Okay, like for example here, you don't want to develop for desktop, so you can just disable nor enable Windows desktop. Or if you don't want to develop for web, you just no enable web so that you don't have this residual file, these additional file folders for that particular environment, okay, for that particular development. So yeah. Okay, so that's that. Whenever you create, so let me just try to create again new project. So I can create from here. This is let me take this, put it somewhere else. All right, so as I mentioned, you can use a view command palette and create new Flutter project by using this. Okay, so there are selections here. This is a new version. I haven't yet put this into the book. Okay, so I believe Flutter 3.2 they introduced this. So I didn't yet put into the books. Maybe later. So you can choose application instead of the rest. This one, if you want to work with module-based application, like for your component-based programming. So if you are in the component-based programming, you can use module, you can use package, or you can even create plugin for Flutter. Skeleton, this is also new. Whenever you develop Flutter application, you are given with just a single file, but with a skeleton, you will be given with a development directory that follow the community best practices. But there's no what we call as a best practices in terms of developing Flutter applications. It's all up to the developer, and it's all up to you as a team. If you want to develop as a team, so which skeleton project that you agree on, so you can choose that. So always start with a empty Flutter application and choose the folder where you want to create a Flutter application. So let's say like I want to create Flutter application inside this folder, and create a folder to create the project in. Okay, so now you can give the project names. Let's say like hello world, hello world application. So inside the folder. So whenever you create new Flutter project, automatically, if we go to the Flutter directory in that particular directory, you're given with this hello world folder. And you have to wait for a while for all the folders to appear. So at the moment, still waiting for the folder to be, I believe they've downloaded or they automatically created that. You can see there, automatically created for your project. If they are downloading or not, I'm not quite sure. Maybe through their framework, so the folder files and everything that required will be created for the particular project. So I did mention that whenever you create new Flutter project, the size is actually quite small. Okay, the size is rather small. So whenever you create new Flutter project, it's about like 300 to 370 kilobyte of total file sizes for this project. The only problem is that whenever you compile the project, whenever you run the project for the first time, everything start to grow and created more and more files for the build folder, called the build folder. And the project goes from a mere kilobyte to 500 megabyte, okay, more than half gig of a storage requirement for a single project. All right, so that is the things with Flutter that you really have to understand, and why is that the requirement is quite or rather high. And yes, that is the thing with Flutter. And things get more complex later on whenever we go along the way. If you develop for iOS or for Linux, for Windows, for web and whatnot. So those are the things that will get more and more complex. So here you can see all the folders. This is folder, everything related to Android development will be here. Everything related to iOS development will be here. Everything to Linux will be here. Okay, so anything that related, if you want to compile for Linux application, can be there. Anything for Windows can be here. But if you don't want this, if like, for example, the first time you create a project, you don't want to develop for Linux, you don't want to develop for Windows, you don't have that, or you don't want to do that, you can just, instead of that, you can just click on this. You say you don't want to develop, you just want to develop for iOS and for Android only, because this is a mobile application. You don't even want to for web. Okay, so because I already disabled web, so you don't see web there. So all you have to do is just delete these two folders. Okay, there's no need for them anymore. Right, there's no need for the Windows and Linux folder. So we just want to focus on developing application for Android and for iOS. So that's it. Okay, you can just remove them and you should be happy with it. Okay, no problem with running later on. All right, so that's for creating new project. The most important files and folders in developing Flutter mobile application is the lib folder here. That is one, right? So I did mention that here. So the lib folder basically contain one file called main.dot. So here I talk about running the application through AVD, so which is can be a little bit time consuming, even for me, okay, because myself, I'm running a lot of stuff here, WebEx and whatnot. That can be quite difficult, but you can choose to run on your own device. So if you have your own device, Android only, not iOS. iOS, you need to go through all the registration process. For Android, you can enable what we call as the developer mode. So each Android, if you got Android phone, you can look how to enable developer mode for your Android phone. And usually the about phone, like myself, MIUI, Xiaomi phone, you can go to about phone, and I believe the MIU version, you can multiple click on the MIUI version multiple time to enable what we call as the developer mode. Okay, so those are the requirement. So once you enable the developer mode, you need to go to the menu for the developer mode, and then the developer mode menu should be enabled. We call it developer options. So turn on the developer options and click on the USB debugging. Okay, turn on the USB debugging. Allow install via USB. Okay, and yeah, that's it. And then you make sure that your cable is what we call as but usually Type C cable. This is data cable. So when you connect to your phone, so there's an option called file transfer or Android Auto. So you can just choose that. And for the first time, like for example, mine is Xiaomi 11T Pro. So if you are not yet, or this is the first time that you connected to your phone, you might need to try multiple times until you get, they call it a fingerprint. There's a fingerprint there when you want to run. Let me just check, where did I put that? If you want to run on, here you go. Okay, different phone sometimes different location in terms of the setting. Okay, sometimes under mine is, and this is the old one, my old phone setting about build number, that one. So you can multiple click on the build number and it should turn on your developer mode. So once you get into the developer mode, you should be able to run on your real device. So whenever you start debugging, right, for example, like this one. So to start debugging, either you can just press this button, start debugging, or press F5. Okay, so whenever you start debugging, you should be able to see down here. So this means that I'm connected to my device, which is the Android ARM64. So this is 2107. This is my phone. Okay, so but you have to make sure that whenever you're connected to the device, you turn on the power management. So always on, right? So that it is easier. Let me try power management or display. Is it display? Look for that. Display cut out, display time, turn off. Forgot where the let me turn, if I can turn on my visor. If you want to stream visor, I can use visor to show you my desktop. So on visor on my computer. Send your visor here. Let me just turn on my visor. So visor is another option if you want to display my visor. I hope I can get it to run. There you go. I can get it to work now. So that's my phone actually. You can see that this is my phone running. Reload later. Okay, so this is my phone. So waiting for for the application to run. Okay, but I forgot where to turn off the screen. Is it inside the setting? Should be in the setting, I believe. This one is under developer mode. Developer options, don't lock screen. Screen won't go to sleep while charging. There you go. Okay, don't lock screen and screen won't go to sleep while charging. So this basically allow your screen to turn on while you're doing, but here you cannot control. You cannot control here, you need to control directly on your phone. Right, so if you want to do like presentation and whatnot, so you can use this also. Visor, this is a free software. It is a free software. Okay, so give it a try, and you need to install on your phone and on your device and connect it to the phone. So as you can see, it's still launching. Takes times to, but it is much faster. Okay, so it is much faster compared to the AVD. Okay, so if you're running on like 8 gig of memory, or even 4 gig, give it a try. If still on an older computer, laptop, but you manage to upgrade your SSD, but you don't have the money to upgrade your RAM, so your best option is to run on the real device. but still my screen is still screen lock, screen brightness, take a screenshot, screen display, always on display, and lock screen. There's so many options for screen. Partial, manage home screenshot, screen lock, don't lock screen. I'm not quite sure which one. There's too many of them already. There you go. You can see allow to install for oops, sorry. Why did I press on that? It should be one more time. Yeah, I press on the wrong button. You should allow, okay, allow installation. One more time, but it is faster, significantly faster, okay, compared to the previous methods or through AVD. And even myself are required to do this because of the total memory usage is rather high. So I might need to choose to run on my real device and stream to you by using, I hope there's no limitation by using Visor. I hope not. Is there anything? Or I need to buy the package or whatnot? Title bar always on top. I can turn on always on top. Show preview, show notification. Nope. Oh, sorry. I messed with the installation. I didn't press the button. Asked to press the button, but I did not. One more time. The third time already. Okay, just wait. Once you already have the what we call as the build folder, it is significantly faster. Okay, significantly faster. You wait for a while. As long as you're still connected, make sure that there you go. It's already doing the installation, and you have to allow this install. All right. So remember my charge and install, and the installation is there. All right, done. Now this is streaming. So whatever that I've done here, I press the button there. You can see it is much faster. I'm not quite sure what this message. This model don't support. I'm not sure, but that is just the debug console. Okay, so anything that you change, one of the best thing about Flutter is that the hot reload, the term here, the hot reload terms. Let me just put it. This is put there. And if I can, let me just always on top. Is it possible for me to use that? Device screen stream always on top. Okay, that is the, all right, there you go. It's always on top already. All right, now if like, for example, if I change something in the codes, let's say like up here, the title here, Flutter demo homepage. So if I'm doing something here, Flutter, let's say I'm changing the string here, my first Flutter app. So if I put it like Control S save, and you should be able to see this title change directly or automatically without having to reinstall or recompile the application, just like if you're using Android Studio, developing native codes there. So the installation will be redone for you, reinstallation, and then you'll be able to see the latest update to your UI. But for Flutter, they have the hot reload. This is also very similar to the React Native. Okay, React Native also use the same idea, use the same concept, and this is also available here on in Flutter application. Okay, so whatever that you changes, unless you introduce new library. Okay, so if you import new library from the pubdev, and then you put it into your project, and that library is not yet available or downloaded into the project, you need to do the reinstallation. You cannot hot reload that. Okay, but anything within the application domain development should be no problem for you to change and use the hot reload feature. And this basically save a lot of time. Okay, save a lot of time. Any question? Anyone? No? Is it too fast for you? Or just nice? Are you guys still in front of your computer? Or I'm doing all the talking alone? So this is one of the perk of having online presence. The reason being is that I cannot see you guys. And I cannot turn on the video because that video is going to take a lot of memory. Okay, so I try to use as low as possible memory to be able to stream this, right? So if you have any problem, do let me know. And this is very, very important stage. Very, very important stage. Early understanding of how Flutter application is being developed, is being coded, is being run is very important because that will establish your early fundamental. If you have no idea how Flutter application works, where the code started, and how to inject or how to put the codes, where to put the codes, how to update UI, how to access the backend services later on, so you might end up with a lot of problem later on down the road. Okay, so it is very important for you to understand this. Because Flutter use Dart, and Dart is basically pretty new programming language for you, and you might have a little bit trouble understanding Flutter. Okay, if you don't focus here now, or you're doing something else. All right. All right. Now, so the next section is I'm putting here is that in my book is that I'm talking about the basic Flutter code structure. So I'm going to use this example because it's the latest version here. So sometimes when they come out with new Flutter project, I have recorded everything, right? Okay. So this is basically where your code starts its life cycle. Okay. So inside your project, there's a folder called lib. Inside the folder lib, there's a file called main.dart. And whenever you click on this file, the code will appear here. And this is where you coded your UI and you coded your logic, you access the database and whatnot later on, or you accept input from user. This is where it started. Okay, this is where it started. And like any other programming language, there will be an entry point to the program, to the application. So this is basically how the program is being laid out, how the Flutter code is being executed by the application. There are a number of sections here, and the first section is the import sections, and this is where we import any additional library or any additional classes for our project. So for now, the application only import one library or one class called material.dart. There's only one here, there's not much. And this is because it uses what we call as a material classes. I did mention about material before. So material is a design paradigm used for Android application. Okay, so the Android application use material design. They call it material design, literally material design. Okay, so if you look around, material design. So what basically material design? You can look around material.io. There's a lot of tutorial there about material design. and the material design is based on flat structure, okay, flat UI. So you can look what does it mean, and it basically heavily used by Android. They started in 2014 with card-based design, and they call it card-based design. So, and the latest version of material design is they call Material U, okay, the unified UI design language starting Android 12. So those are the principles. It's just a design principle. Okay, just a design principle. Either you want to follow or not, that is up to you. For iOS, you have Cupertino. Okay, so if you look Cupertino design, UI design. So Cupertino design is based on the company itself, Cupertino, where the company located. Okay, so Cupertino is for iOS style framework design. Okay, so you can choose either, but for Android, usually we just stick with material design. And actually, you can switch. Okay, you can switch. You can detect the operating system type, and then you can choose the UI design that you wanted for your UI. It can be done through this material app, or you can return material Cupertino app. Okay, that can be done also. Can be switched automatically if you want. But material design can also run on iOS, should be no problem because it is just a design principle. But if you want to have like a consistent UI with the operating system, you can choose between either. Okay, if you are detected this is running on Android, so you choose the material app. If your application detected you are running on iOS, you can choose Cupertino app as your default UI framework. So that can be done also. But here we just focus on material app because we don't do much on iOS. We don't have, there's only like one or two of you with Mac. Developing for iOS requires Mac. So there's no doubt about it. So we don't have that. I do have one Mac, but it is also quite old. My Mac also rather old, and they are very expensive to buy. So that's about it. All right, now let's go back to the codes here. So you start with import, just like any other programming language. So you have import section here, and you have this method. Okay, this is a main method. It is very similar to your Java public static void main. That is the entry point for your application. And the file here called, or the class here called, the main class here called my app. Okay, so my app, so that's why you have this this function here called my app class, or create the class object without having to create the object. So they just execute the my app class and then run the rest of the application. So the user interface, as I mentioned before, Flutter is a UI framework. So for a UI framework, you should have what we call as the UI code itself. So whenever you want to build a UI framework, UI for Flutter, as I mentioned, the official development, they don't have that. They don't have the graphical UI designer, nor UI designer, nor UI builder. But you do have that is as a third-party software available for you to do that. But nonetheless, you need to be able to write the code for your UI. And this is where you write the code for your UI. So whenever you want to create a UI, you need a class. Okay, you need a class, and here you can see the class name called my app, the typical class naming. You can give it any names, which extend to two type of UI. Yeah, I did mention about here. There's a stateless and stateful widget. There's a stateful widget. There's a stateless widget. There are there are differences between them. And when we talk about stateless widget here, right? So the the entry point for the application will always start as a stateless widget. Okay, so if you start as stateful widget, which later I'm going to describe, you can only develop what we call as a single page application only. You need to start your UI with a stateless, which is the name conceived as a stateless, no state, no changing UI. And widget is just a UI component. Okay, widget is a UI component. As you can see here, there's a number of widgets, okay, available. For example, like this label here, this is a label, or they call it text. This is also another text. This is a button here. So this is all widget. Okay, this is all widgets. So anything that we put or anything that is available inside your application, everything is a widget. So Flutter is a widget programming, widget type programming. So whenever you put anything inside your UI, or like, for example, you want to have an image here, that image is a widget. Or you have a button, a square button down here, that is another widget. Okay, or you have an input box here, that is also another widget. So that widget is basically either as an input or as an output element to your application. Okay, widget is an input and output element to your application, to your user interface. And there are two types of widgets, either a stateless widget or a stateful widget. A stateless widget or a stateful widget. A stateless widget is something like this, that there's no changes to the value, whatever that, or there's no changes to the component or the value inside the widget. So it contains no state. It contains no state. So for example, like you have pushed the button this many times, so there's no changes here. So even I put a button, okay, if I click on the button here, the text inside here, there's no changes. Okay, no change to the text. So that means that is a stateless widget. No value required to be changed. Okay, but for this text down here, this is a stateful widget. So a stateful widget require a stateful type. We need to extend a stateful type. So that's why you don't see this text down here, you see it down here. The counter value changes down there. This is now a stateful widget. So how does the code works? So there's a class there, and you need to widen your eye. You need to understand this curly bracket down there, up there. This curly bracket. And this curly bracket, very, very important. So curly bracket, very similar to Java programming. So in Java, you have curly bracket. So open curly bracket and close curly bracket means that this is a complete stateless class. Okay, stateless widget class, which is extend to the stateless widget, right? So inside the stateless widget, okay, inside a stateless widget here called my app, it basically contains one construct. Oops, it's offline. This can be resolved. Let me try to. I'm not quite sure if there's a limitation. If there's any limitation or the visor itself. Might need to experience on this later on. So I can join in wireless mode. Oh, for pro user, I need to buy this. All right. Let me try to run this again. Maybe this is because of my... I need to open and close one more time. Oh, if you take out your cable, okay, so you have to understand that whenever you take out the cable, it will automatically close the debug connection. There you go, lost connection to device. You can do what we call as a wireless compile. You can compile wirelessly, but there's a YouTube video. I have that YouTube video that if you want to, let me check, where is it? I put my YouTube video. You can look into my YouTube video if you want to do like wireless compilation, which means that you can do that. Okay, it can be done. So that's why I'm going to update that later. Not yet. Look into my channel. I did talk about that in my YouTube. But where I put it, so you can just, it's quite slow actually to be able to retrieve that. Okay, YouTube, my channel, my playlist, and look under Flutter. There you go. Still not quite sure what's wrong. Maybe because of the power. Okay, so look under Flutter, and then there's a wireless Flutter tutorial chat preference, basic layout, registration screen, my GitHub, project, database, authentication, widgets, Flutter installation, getX, where did I put it? Somewhere inside there. Oh, there you go. Flutter wireless debugging. Yeah, you can give it a try. Okay, this is okay. You can actually compile your application wirelessly. Okay, so give it a try. And that's why I keep mentioning for you to subscribe to my channel. And sometimes if I did something new, you can have it. Okay, so go ahead and try to follow the tutorial if you like to try that. All right. So coming back to the UI, let me just close that. So this is a class stateless widget. So inside where you have a constructor. It was getting. Okay, you have a constructor here, so I hope you still remember your constructor. So constructor, the class name and the method name, they are basically the same. And then the super keyword, so you remember the super keyword, you can pass key to the class. So this is a constructor. And down here, there's an override widgets or override method. So this is a method. So method that called build method, it is a build method, which is an override method or built-in methods that is already available in Flutter. So whenever you recall again or you override the method, so you need to put the annotation for the override method before that method build call. And the UI for Flutter is always start with widget build context, the UI build context parameter. And the build context basically pass the current user interface context, the current UI context for the application. So it contain or it will always return, okay, always return the UI element. And the UI element that we use here called material app, the class name. Okay. For the class name, you can see that if I put it the bracket there, this is a closing opening bracket. The opening, is it the bracket? The bracket is the square one. This is the curve bracket there. Okay, so you have bracket there, and then the closing of the bracket is here. Okay, this is open, this is close. Open, close. So when we return a bracket, which means that we want to return back the entire UI to the build context. Okay, we return back to the build context as a complete widget. Okay, this is the widget. We return the whole elements here is a widget on its own. Okay, is a class UI. And the best thing about Flutter is that Flutter allow you to, I need to reconnect that one. but that one later. Flutter allow you to customize your widget. You can compile, you can create multiple widgets into one class, and then you can create that as a custom widget, custom UI element. Okay, you can combine. So once you combine, you can just return back to the widget, and it basically compile or run as a single, either you can create as a class or as a widget itself. Okay, so that one is quite advanced for you later on. Maybe I'm going to talk about that. But this the default one that is being used is this. This is material app. This is the whole UI. The whole UI that is being used, or the framework UI that is being used by this application. And whatever that inside this material app class, okay, the title, the theme, the home, this is all what we call as a parameter. Okay, we call it as a programming parameter. So the programming parameter for the material app, or the class parameter for material app, is as follows. We have title, which allow us to have this Flutter demo. I cannot get this to run properly, so might as well let me try to keep it running on my AVD. I hope I can get it to run properly. Let it run first, and let's see for that. You can see the title here, the theme that being used by the application. So you can define your application themes. So the default one only contain, I'm not interested in visor. So let me just close that visor first. Right. The theme data that is going to be used by your application, which is in this case is a material app application, the themes, and the home of your application, the UI of your application. Okay, so the reason why we've seen this being built inside a stateless widget is that you have another UI class down there called my home page, and this class is what we call as a stateful widget type of class. Okay, a stateful widget type of class, because we need stateful widget if your UI contain interaction. Anything that your UI change, or non-static element or non-static UI in your application exists, you need stateful widget. And that's why sometimes just to make things easier, we just change everything to stateful. Okay, when we change everything to stateful, we make our life much easier that way. Okay, but that comes in some penalty in terms of the application performance. Let me take this, put it here. This is my AVD. Okay, so you can see that's working there. So since my application here is what we call as this application will require changes to the UI. So that's why you have yourself another class down here. Okay, so this class is for the home parameter for this stateless widget class. Okay, so you have two classes. One is a stateless widget class, which is required for the entry of the application. The other one is a stateful widget, which is required for your UI, for your real UI here. Okay, this is your UI here. So the UI here, which is defined by this my home page class, which extend to a stateful widget, define the class as stateful widget, and still the structure for the class is remain the same, which is you have your constructor. This is a constructor. The rest here, all this is just comment. Okay, you can just remove the comment. There's a variable definition here. So, and then you can see there's a one special override method down here, which automatically, usually when you do this, will automatically create it for you, which call another private, they call it private class. I'm not quite sure the real name. Whenever you have underscore in front of your class name, That's mean in Flutter, that is private. Okay, that is a private class or static class, I can say. Okay, static class or private class, which means that this class is only accessible inside this my homepage class. Okay, not here. It is not accessible here, but only accessible inside here, inside this class. So you can see that even though the class is here, okay, the my homepage class is here, but when we have this override method, this is basically inclusive of this another class down here. Okay, and this class refers to this class, okay, to create the state. And this is where the UI and the methods, what we call it, the operation for the UI is being laid out or is being operated here. So for example, the counter value, okay? This method here, this is a very, very typical method. Okay, increment counter. Okay, whenever you click on the button, it basically increment the counter. Okay, so we have a method increment counter, which is, as you can see, this is underscore, means that this is a private. Usually in Java, you define it as a private parameter or private variable or private methods. So for Flutter or for Dart, whenever you want to declare anything belong to that class only, you put underscore in front of the method names or variables name. So this one is a variables name. This is a method name. So you can see underscore there. And there's a special method or the UI update method called set state. Okay, so you can see the set state there, underscore counter plus plus. This is just to increment the value of counter, which is by default set to 0. And down here, this is where we build our UI. Okay, this is where we build our UI inside the stateful class. Stateful class. All right, so this stateful class contains another widget build, but here, the difference is that it returns scaffold. Okay, it returns UI scaffold. UI scaffold is the whole this. Okay, this is the whole scaffold, which contains two elements. The app bar element up here, you can see that one element here is called app bar, which comes from the widget title that we pass from the parent class. And there's a body section here, which is this body, the white section here. This is very similar to web programming. This is very similar to web programming, which is, this is your body section. Okay, this is where you draw, you design your UI, whatnot. All right, so inside the body section, you can see a widget called center, which will center everything to the center. You can see all of this center. This one is outside of the body widget, so that's why it is not located in the center of the screen. So you have center widget. So the center widget contains what we call a child. Okay, a widget can contain two type of subclasses, either as a child or as a children. Certain widget can only accept one class. Certain widget can accept multiple classes, such as center can only have one child. However, columns can have multiple children. Okay, they call it like that. So we're going to play with this a lot. And for columns, for example, here, if you want to set everything to center, you can pass argument, which is you want to set everything to center. So that's why you get yourself everything set to center, even though you already have this center here. But this one, not the best example to set everything. I believe this one just to set this to center here. But this column, it use mean axis alignment to center. Like if I disable this one, you can see the changes. Okay, so let me just disable that one. So yeah, I save on that. You can see now the text now push upward at the top of the screen, because I remove the center parameter for the column. So if I return back and then set the center to, let's say, to the end. Okay, so to the end is at the bottom down there. So it means that the main axis alignment is set to the end of the screen, at the bottom of the screen. So this is what I mean by having to design your UI through coding. Okay, so let me put back to the center, which is I want everything back to the center, so which is right in the middle here. The center widget only bring all the widgets to this center, not to the center screen down here. But if you want to exactly at the middle of the screen, then you can put center as a parent, and set the columns with main axis alignment. Okay, so you get this. So the arrangement here basically playing with a number of widgets, and that widget basically available. Oh, sorry, before that, the columns widgets down here contain children's, as I mentioned. So for children, you can have multiple widgets. There are two widgets there, 1, 2. So the first widget is just a constant text widget. So you have pushed this button many times. So here, this is just a constant value. There's no changes. You can put whatever that you like here. Let's say like, in Malay, like Anda telah tekan butang ini sebanyak. Okay. When I save, now you can see that now this is now in Malay. Anda telah tekan butang ini sebanyak. Okay, so that it is. For the text down here, so let me return back to the English version. So since this class we have international students. The second widget separated by this comma. So this is one widget. So if I remove this one, so now that text no longer there. So this is one widget there. So this means that I can have multiple widgets for my columns. Let's say if I want to put something else, just this is Flutter. Okay, so now you have down there. This is Flutter. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, now you have another text at the bottoms of the text above, and then this is Flutter. Down here, another text, but this is a special text that containing output. So if you remember your programming norm is input, process, and output. Okay, your basic algorithm will always contain where do you get your input, how do you process your input, where do you want to display back, or how you want to display back your output, your input, your process, and your output. So this is basically very similar to that. So now the idea here is that you want to display, whenever you change, you press this button, you can see that there's a counter variable there. Okay, the counter variable there is very easy in Flutter to use, is that you just call $_counter. This is almost similar to PHP programming, almost. Okay, so if you are familiar with PHP, so PHP you have dollar, something like dollar in front. So the variable name is _counter. You can see this is a variable name, counter there. But to be able to display that into text, you need to put $counter. Okay. And this is a parameter just to change the style of the text. Okay, the style of the text. So let's say like if you wanted to have a different type of, that one based on theme. Okay, let me change that style based on whatever that I wanted. So instead of by using theme, so let me just use a widget called text style. Let's say text color, or maybe just color. Colors red, and this one definitely a constant because there's no variable value there. So the text color now change to red. There you go. If I wanted something else, like the size of the text, font size. Okay, so there's a parameter called font size. Let's say like 32 pixel. There you go, 32 pixel. Other parameter that basically available, just put comma there and find what kind of parameter that you wanted to use. Let's say So shadow, you want to put shadow, you can put that. Spacing between text can do that also. So it's all background color. If you want to set background color, let's say colors to black. Okay. Okay, so now you can see now the background color for the text is now black. So those are the thinking that you need to put into your mind. So whenever you use the widget, that widget basically comes with a style or comes with additional parameter that you can easily change. And it can be done through that, all right? So text, and then when you put dollar there, or you can just also use value, new value, or updated value, updated counter value. Okay, so press that. You can see that updated counter value. Okay, so those are the value, those are the variables, and you can concatenate. We call it concatenation. Okay, programming concatenation, concatenate between this string and this variable, and then put it into your, because this one just to look too messy and the size is too big. We just usually we increase the text by 8. So 8, 16, and then we can choose 32. Okay, a little bit smaller. And forgot one thing. Error. Okay, so you can see that whenever you run a program, so you encounter error, you should be able to see that. Okay, because I deleted the comma there, the closing there, bracket there, so that's why you get error. So you cannot run your project if there's an error in your program. So you can easily see that. Let me remove that. You can see through this red error indicator there, and then you can see there's a red there. I hope you can see that through your screen. There's a red dot there, means that your error, and also your program preview there. There's a line that shows you have error, even though if you have like thousands and thousand line of code, you should be able to see that there. There's an error in my code there. So all you have to do is just click on that, should go to the error. Okay, so means that now I forgot to close. So waiting, looking for the closing parameter, even if you hover around that, you can see that expected to find that bracket. So that bracket is missing, means that there you go. Right? Save that. Okay, so updated counter value 25. So this is 22 pixel. So if you make it a little bit smaller, so that is 16. Right. So you can add as much as possible within these columns. Okay, columns. And columns is very important in Flutter, in UI design in Flutter, because columns allow you to add multiple elements. Okay, columns allow you to do that. A container can only allow you to add one widget, but column and row allow you to design your UI much better. Okay, so you're going to learn about that also. For the scaffold also, it comes with what we call as a floating action button. Okay, so the floating action button, once like say, why is my, are you guys still live? Are you guys still here? Or is it too much already? My mouse is not working. Not quite sure why. Still here? How about the rest? Okay, so like for example, if you don't want this button, okay, so you can just disable that. Let's say like I don't want this button to appear on top of this. I want to have button somewhere here, let's say. Okay, so let me try to remove that. You can just use Control backspace to automatically comment that, so that you can just remove your button. There's no more button anymore. My mouse is not operating. Is it this one? Nope. All right, this one. Okay, so now no more button. Okay, I've removed the button, so the button is no longer there. So if you wanted to have a button, you can create buttons. let's say like I want to create a button down here. So actually, let's say just a small update to the code, just to get you some idea how Flutter application works. So let's say I want to have a button down here. All right, so to have a button down there, all I have to do is just, I can use, there's a number of button types, some button, let's say like, is there any elevated button? Elevated button, they call it elevated button. Okay, so elevated buttons is a one type of buttons in Flutter. You need to provide the onPress method there, which is whenever you press a button, what you want to do. Okay, so the child here will contain, let's say, just a simple text, and then increase. This is just for the button text, and for now, let's just put null for the button. Okay, for now. Okay, now you can see there's a button down there, but this button it has been disabled because we don't have any onPress method just yet. Okay, but this one just contain, we have the method already because the method is up here. We can just call the increment method inside there. So now the button is enabled. So if I press this button, you can see now the button is working. All right. So as simple as that. It's very simple. So this one, if anything with a wavy blue line here, this is just a warning. So for you to put a constant there. All right. So let's say you want to have a decrease button. So to have a decrease button, all you have to do is just create another method. Let's say like void decrease decrement, right? So decrement counter. Okay, void decrement counter. This is just a method name. So basically the same with this one, but we want to implement another set state. The same basically actually. Set state. There you go, down there. So this one, I want the counter to reduce the value back. Counter minus minus. Okay. All right, that's it. So now you have a method to decrement the value, and then just create a button, another button, which is elevated button. But in this case, I want it to be calling decrement counter, which is this decrement counter there. So decrement counter, this one is decrease. Right, save that. Now you have two buttons, increase value and decrease value. How simple is that? Okay, so you have two buttons. If you want your button to be, at the moment, the button is up here and down here. So if you wanted your button, let me just arrange that properly. If you want your button to have like left and right position, so you can just use row. And this row basically contain, we can just take these two buttons now and put it inside this row. Okay, so this row here. So now this row contain the children. So what happened now if I save this, and then you should be able to see this button now sit right like this. Okay, but you want it to be like in the center. So if you want it to be in the center, all you have to do is just change the row parameter. So the parameter contain, is it main axis alignment? Call the main axis alignment, set everything to center. Is it main axis? Oh yeah, main axis. Okay, you got main axis, increase and decrease. Okay, and there's also another, they call it space parameter that you can use. If you don't want to use center, you can use space around. Space around, automatically space around your buttons. Okay, automatically space around, or you can use some other parameter, let's say space evenly. It will automatically space evenly between your buttons. Okay, you make sure that everything nice and tidy. So this is Flutter. It came with a lot of bells and whistles for you to develop UI, but of course you need to get used to each of the widgets. Okay, this is all widgets. Everything that you've seen here, this is widget. This is widget. So if I may say, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 widgets that visible. including if you want to include your app bar. This is your app bar, the blue section here, the body section here. So quite a number of widgets. And if you wanted to see the, call it the structure, okay, the UI structure, you can use this Flutter outline here. So the Flutter outline shows your built UI. So the build UI, the parent for the UI is the scaffold here. Children for the scaffold, or the parameter for the scaffold, there are two. App bar, one, and this center, this is body. Okay, this is body. So the app bar only contains one text, which is this one, this widget here. But for the center, it contains columns, which is the parent. And the column basically contain all these child widgets. So the parent contain, the columns contain 1, 2, 3, 4 widgets. And inside the column also contain row. So you have row. Inside a row, it contains 2 additional widgets. Widgets elevated buttons. There are 2 elevated buttons. Inside the elevated button, it contains one widget called text widget. So this is the idea. This is the paradigm that you might need to shift to be able to develop Flutter application. Okay, so understanding this is very, very important, and how widgets are built on top of one another. Right? What is the time now? It's already almost 10 o'clock. Any questions so far with this? With this idea of Flutter development? Quotes? Anyone having issues understanding this? And actually, you can just remove all this, because this is just whenever you autocode, it will do that for you. You can remove this, all the comment. There's no need for the comment actually, right? There's no need for the comment. All this is basically just for you to understand the default code given. Okay, this is no need for this. There's no need for this also. No need. If you don't want a floating action button, you can remove that. And if you want to auto arrange, you can just press Shift Alternate F. Okay, it will auto arrange back all the codes. So now you see that the code is much cleaner. Okay, so you have one class up here. So you can see the way that the Flutter outlines. So your main method, this is where the application entry point. It contains the call to the constructor, and this is a class for my app. Okay, the my app, this is my app, and then whenever you initiate this, it will automatically initiate the class. So this is basically a recursive class. It call back the constructor, automatically call back, and then build the widget stateless. Okay, this is stateless widget. Here, one thing that quite nice here, if you want to change, you don't want to use these blue themes there. So you can change to a different themes. Let's say like, I want something like deep orange. Save that. And you got yourself an orange application themes. Okay, just with one little code. You got orange themes. Different themes, you just change it from here. Okay, like you want like deep purple. You got yourself a deep purple application already. And then you can customize that if you want to use setting. So through the setting, and then you want to change the way that your Flutter application works. And you can use if statement inside your themes data. And your theme data will read that first, and then change your UI based on the themes that chosen by the customer, by the user. So you can further customize your application. That is the best thing. The good things about Flutter is very easy to do. Down here is a stateful widget, which is required if you don't want to develop. If you want to develop a static application, then you can remain with a stateless widget. But if you want to develop application that can respond to user, you wanted stateful widget. Okay, there's no doubt about it. There's no way of developing Flutter application without stateful widget defined in your class. Okay, this is your method. This is static method, which is called by these two buttons here. So there are two buttons, one button, two button, and this button basically arranged in a row. Okay, a row widget. This is a row widget. So if I may, I'm not quite sure if there's a color. Is there any color here? No, they don't have color. If you want to see color, you can put everything inside a container. Okay, let's say just want to make things clearer. Okay, so wrap with a container, and then this container, let me just color that container with colors, let's say yellow. Okay, so just to show you that this is a row. This is a row. Inside this row, it contains two widgets, two buttons, which is these two buttons, arranged by main axis element. So this is main axis element, which any widgets that have been defined inside the children will be automatically arranged based on the main axis alignment, spaced evenly. There you go, spaced evenly. Okay, so this is container, and then part of the container is part of columns. So if you want to see columns themselves, so there's no color there, and usually you can always wrap with a container, and then the container can be colored. This is just easier way, because container, just like web programming, container will contain or will wrap whatever element that you have inside your program, inside your UI. So let's say this container, the higher layer container, put it into colors, let's say, colors red or blue or whatever you want, blue, gray. Okay, now you can see that the whole UI body here, this is a container, and the columns here will inherit or will be what we call it, occupied by the columns. So this is all columns. So whatever you want to add, you can just keep on adding into your columns. Okay, so those are the basic tenets of Flutter programming. Okay, so you have 4 elements. Okay, there are 4 elements for this column. Okay, you can add more, but make sure that you understand where to add. So like, for example, like this one, this widget now belong to the columns. So whenever you want to add something, you add after. Okay, so let's say like you want another button at the bottom down there. So let's say like this time around, I'm going to use an icon button. Okay, so icon button, they call it icon button. So let me just take the method there, put it there. So the icon that I want to use, icons, this one should be I. Let's say, let me try to pick up from the list. Where's the list? Icon there. Let's say settings icon. Is there any setting icon there? All right, so we have settings icon. And again, this is a constant. So now we're going to have a button at the bottoms. There you go. Okay, so this setting buttons icon there can be clicked, user can click, and this click basically because I call the decrement counter method up here. So that's why the value there decrement. Okay, you can see decrement value. So if you want to create another class, another UI from there setting, so you can go from there. Okay, so those are the basic idea behind how Flutter application is being developed. Okay, any questions on that? I've talked about that, the widgets elements there, so you can have multiple widgets. And you need to, if you want to use that, here I did talk about the use of Meet app. Okay, but I'm going to talk about that later because Meet app only works if you have stateless widget at first. Okay, so but not here. They updated that. I'm not quite sure why. Okay, so this awesome Flutter snippet you can install because this allow you to create the code faster. They call it mid-app methods snippet that allow you to create your project faster. This one I've talked already. So to run, to setting and whatnot. So those are available. So the basic layout, I've talked about the basic layout, the stateless widgets, and the elements or the widgets that is being used in the framework UI. And here we use material app. Okay, we don't use Cupertino. You can use Cupertino, but you need to import Cupertino, and then you get yourself a Cupertino UI design compared to material design. Okay, there you go, the Flutter outline there. The column widget, which is a very, very important widget. Okay, so because column widget allow you to add multiple elements inside your widget. There you go, the columns widget there. The standard text widget, like for example. So let me just stop this. All right. So if you want to create from scratch, okay, so for a single page application should be okay. But if you want to have multiple pages, that can be a little bit difficult because you need to change your class. You need to make sure that you have your main class here. But all in all, this is basically how Flutter application works. And let's say like, if you want to start from empty project, if you want to rewrite everything, so let me remove the entire code here. Let me just take all, right? Let me take everything from here, empty file. So I've stopped the application already, so the application is not running yet. So save. Okay, nothing's inside here. Let me put my all right, so the things with usually this is when I created new project. So if I want to create new project, usually there are two ways. Either you can use the existing codes, the one that you use here, the one that we already have the default code, and then you remove all the comment and whatnot. So you can start from there, or you can install which one very handy extension called the awesome Flutter widgets, awesome Flutter snippet, sorry. This one, install. Oh, they already updated my awesome Flutter snippet already there. Because this one, they updated with the latest version already because okay, now they supported for Flutter 3 already. I believe they have updated the snippet and allow, this is what we call as a component-based programming. Okay, so you can have your plugin, your component there, and then someone else can just import the component and put it into VSC, Visual Studio Code. Okay, so if you learn about that, this is where it shows how it is. Okay, so you need that. Okay, so once you have that, usually I started with the main app. They call it main app here. So the main app basically gives you this, right? So it gives you the structure, the basic structure of your codes. There are two types of main app. So if you type in main, okay, so the main app here, oh wow, this one they are updated already. I think they removed before this. You need to update a few other parameters for but this time they updated that. So by default, they give you the stateless widget, they give you the main method, it should be no problem for you to run. But now you don't have the My Homepage. So the My Homepage, actually, you can just create by using stateful STF, stateful widget creator. So this one, stateful widget creator, should be put at the bottom because you want to create new class. Okay, you're given with the stateless widget. Okay, everything just like the previous. This is just a shortcut for you. This is a simple trick in Flutter. So you have this, but you don't have your home page, and usually your home page is in stateful widget. Usually, that depends. either your UI contain any changes or not. If you just static content, then you can stick with stateless widget like this one. Okay, but if you don't, you might want to create what we call as a stateless widget. So here you can use stateful widget builder, we call STF. The stateful widget builder allow you to select, enter automatically, and then you just type in my home page. So automatically created for you the class and all the required classes, okay, all the required classes to be able to build your UI. So now this one actually, because this one is a constant, so any wavy blue line usually because of the missing of the constant. Okay, so now you have your basic UI class or basic codes already. The one that I use here, the main app, this one is the old version. They are updated already because they haven't yet updated main app. Okay, so this one, I've talked about somewhere the main app. I use main app, but the old version of main app, they haven't yet updated. Now they updated the main app already, the awesome Flutter widget. But nonetheless, basically the same. All right, so now you can see there's a Flutter demo there, and then you have the class for stateful widget, which is called my home. And the default here is basically just return container. Usually you want to return scaffold, okay, not a container, because if you return a container, you don't have, like, for example, like if I run this code, let me try to run this, what you have is that as follows. Are you guys doing well? Am I talking too fast? Okay, Rahan doing great. How about the rest? Any students not from IT? I forgot which class. I think is this here or the other class. Are you guys doing okay? Can you guys chat? Anyone not from background IT students, computer science from SOC? Are you guys still doing okay? You guys understand what I'm saying here? Yeah. Anyone? No? Okay, so compile. All right, so now this is a container, okay, an empty container. So if I put something inside here, this is here, this one, black, because you don't have a scaffold, okay? So as a black UI, if that's what you intended to have, then by all means go ahead. But usually we don't return container, we return scaffold, okay, a scaffold. So a scaffold, as you can see there, this is a scaffold, it returns scaffold. It will require a number of parameter. My mouse already dead, the battery. Add constant modifier. They're not working well. Because if you don't have anything variable inside your codes, then you need to put constant, but we will. So constant inside scaffold. So this is a scaffold, right? So contain nothing just yet. So inside scaffold, if I save on this, now you get white element, white background. So now this is a scaffold. Okay, this is a scaffold UI. So scaffold contain two main elements. One is an app bar. This is an app bar. So let's say like inside an app bar, I just want to have like a simple text. Okay, just a very simple text inside my scaffold. Just a title. Sorry, I forgot to put title actually inside app bar. You need an app bar class. Okay, definitely you need an app bar class. So if I just put an empty app bar inside a scaffold here and press save, you have that. Okay, you have the blue app bar up here. So if you want to have content or title, just a simple title up there. So you can put like, we have the text or title, call it title. So the title basically just a text widget. welcome, let's say, and the blue wavy line indicate this is a constant. There you go, welcome. Okay, so this is now an app bar, and definitely you can add buttons, or let's say like if you want to add setting inside there. So I can put I can call actions, and I can add, let's say like icon buttons, and the icon buttons can contain let's say like this one say contain null, no content, so just icon. This one is icon settings. Okay, let's say that. Okay, this is a constant, so should be no problems. Just put it here because there's only one item inside there. So we have there. So no action yet because we haven't yet put anything. So you have an icon there. So now once we have our app bar at top, so this is for app bar only. So the next section is for the body. Okay, so the body section, now this is where we design our UI. This is where we put our effort into designing. And usually when we design UI, the design should comes from the app design, the UI app designer. Okay, the UI UX team. And we as a developer, we just take that and then we just code the UI into the application. Okay, so for now, let's say like we just want to start everything with center. Okay, usually we start with center, or we start with single child scroll view, but that one for later lah. Okay, we start everything with center widget. Okay, center widget of course contain nothing because this is just to center all the widgets inside here. And then the child for the center widget. Okay, so now we can put, let's say like columns. Okay, so columns widget, and still again, because we haven't yet put anything inside, so it's still empty. So for the columns widget, it should have children, not child, because column, row, they can contain multiple children. So here we can put, let's say like text widget, hello, or if you want to create a form, name. Okay, and then second widget, let's say like text, put a metric number, and then whatnot, right? So because these two widgets, there's a constant widget, and usually they will ask to put a constant here. Okay, so two constant there. So you have name, metrics, number, and whatnot. All right. So those are the idea now. What else that we need? So let's say if you want to put everything to the center, as I mentioned, the column itself can be set as a main axis alignment. So use the setting main axis alignment if you want to put everything to the center. So now everything to the center. Okay. That's about the text widgets. So you have your text widget already. Okay, what we need now, this is what it is now. Okay. If you want to draw as a stateless widget, also should be okay, because as you can see here, this is stateless widget. So if I wanted to have this as a stateless widget, so let me just go back a little bit and make it as a stateless widget, right? So this one is a stateful widget. Stateful widget, as I mentioned before, only if you want your UI to be updated. If there's any changes to the UI, you will be not required. It is better for you to use a stateless widget, because stateless widget consume less memory than a stateful widget, because stateful widget need to maintain their state. There's a state there. So they need to maintain a state. Without a state, UI cannot be updated, and you cannot use what we call as set state. I've shown you before the set state. Okay. So let me just continue with the stateful widget first. So let's say I just want to take and then I have a button, or I have an input there. this one name, and just take names and metric number. So name, I'm going to use another widget called text field. Okay, so there's a text field there. So name, text field, and then we can take another, just name lah, just name. Okay, so if I do that, you should be able to see this input. Now you should be able to input things. Okay, you should be able to input things because we have what we call as a text field. This is a text field inside this column. So you have yourself a second widget named text field. But the text field here consume left to the right, which is quite full. So if you want to do some what we call as a padding to your columns, that also can be done. Okay, let's say like you want to have some padding that is just very close to the edge of your UI here. So there are multiple ways of doing this. Either if you want to padding the whole UI here, you can use padding. Okay, what you need now is just select on the columns here and then select this, wrap with padding. Okay, so padding allow you to have this small padding there. So now there's an 8 pixel left to the right. A little bit higher, 16 padding, all. So now more padding available left, right. Or if you want to put this inside what we call as a cart, okay, so that also can be done by using, let's say like the column itself, you want to wrap with another widgets, and this time maybe I can put wrap with widget called cart. Okay, this is a special widget called cart, and the cart basically comes with shapes, elevation, let's say like elevation to 8 elevations. So if you save that, now you have yourself cart. There's a cart there. Okay, so yeah, the design, the idea, everything comes from your UI UX team. They give it to you and then you design that. Okay, so you see that the cart should be on the outside, not on the inside, because this one is on the inside. So you can just go back and then you can pad the padding itself. Okay, this one wrapped with widgets, and then this widget is called cart, and then you can just put there, and then now the cart is the entire UI here, the whole there. You can see that there's a cart padding there. So if you want to have like elevation, put like a much more visible elevation, 16 elevation. You should be able to see your elevation much better from there. There's an elevation there. But yeah, that is how the thinking works. Okay, so you see that this is way too big. So if you want to make it smaller, then you can like say like this one is just way too big. Okay, so let's say I want to wrap everything, the cart itself, in a container, because container allow me to set the height, this height to the UI. So let's say I want to have like 200 pixel only. There you go. Now your cart now a much smaller. Okay, a much smaller. So yeah, you should be able to see now how the UI is being designed in Flutter. So whenever you have something you want to put into your UI, definitely you need to design first. Okay, that's why you learn about UI UX before. I hope you have already learned that, because this class is not about learning how to design the UI. It's about how to implement the UI. Okay, you are given with certain UI, so this UI then you need to translate that into the application, into the code itself. Okay, so you have your design ready, and then from there you can translate the design to the application. All right, so usually there are two types. Either you can put it into a container or you can put it into a size box. That's basically the same. Okay, so that's basically the same. Now you can see the things start to get a little bit complex. Not complex, but you need to understand this very well. The way that the UI is being built. Start from the build method that execute the UI building. and then the scaffold that is being written back to the override method. And the scaffold basically hold everything. Scaffold in Malay, I forgot, is called tiang. Is it tiang? Ataupun saya lupa dah. I forgot the terms that being used. But scaffold usually being used by building to hold everything. When you're building new building, when you build new building, basically you need a scaffold, and that scaffold basically is the one that hold everything here. You can see this is your home, and this is all your elements inside your home. The scaffold is your home, the overall home, but all the element inside here, this is all the building, the elements for your home. That's why they call you as a software engineer. You are as an engineer, you are building a software based on this. You're given the design, and then you need to build based on that design. So that's why they call you software engineer. It's still an engineer in the term, but you're building a software. Okay, I hope you understand that analogy that we given. So I'm the one do all the talking here. What happened to you guys? Anything concerning you guys? Are you guys still alive? Still breathing? All right, so that is, I think that's more than enough for today. I'm going to stop recording.